Hi, welcome to this video in data exploration. In the previous video, we had a look at reading the data, variable identification, univariate analysis, bivariate analysis, and missing value treatment. In this video, we'll have a look at outlier treatment methods. So first of all, let us have a look at the topics that we'll be covering in this video. First of all, we'll see the reasons for outliers. Then we'll have a look at the different types of outliers. Next, we'll see the methods to identify the outliers, and last, we'll see the different methods to deal with these outliers. So we'll see each of these topics in detail. Let's get started with the first topic. So what are the reasons for outliers? The first reason is the data entry errors. So for example, if instead of $100,000 you input $1 million in the entry, then these $1 million become outliers. Similarly, there are measurement errors. So for example, in a dataset, if all the observations are measured in meter and one observation is measured in kilometer, then this observation becomes an outlier. Next are the processing errors and the change in the underlying population as the reasons for outliers. Now let's have a look at the different types of outliers. So there are two types of outliers. First is the univariate outliers and second are the bivariate outliers. Univariate outliers are the one when we analyze a single variable for outlier. So that is like in the example given here. We are analyzing a single variable called height for any outlier or weight for any outlier. But in bivariate outliers, we analyze two variables together for outliers. These two red circle points are the bivariate outliers. Now let's have a look how we can identify these different outliers. Using the graphical methods, there are two methods to identify outliers. For the univariate outliers, we use box plot. So for example, like we studied in the previous video, these circles represent the outlier values for any variable. So for the age variable, these circles represent the outliers. So this is how we can use a box plot to identify outliers. Now for bivariate outliers, we use scatter plot to identify these outliers. So these are the 2 points which do not follow the trend of all the data. So these two becomes bivariate outliers. So this was all about graphical method for identifying outliers. Now the formula method that we are going to talk about is used by box plot to identify outliers. So for example, an outlier is defined as any value which is less than Q1 minus 1.5 times of IQR or greater than Q3 plus 1.5 times of IQR, where Q1 is the first quartile, which is here, this is Q1 and this is Q3. Interquartile range or IQR is this, which is Q3 minus Q1. So any value which is less than Q1 minus, that is the first quartile minus 1.5 times of interquartile range, or greater than third quartile plus 1.5 times of interquartile range becomes outliers. So this is how we identify outliers using the formula method. Now let's have a look at how we can treat these outliers. The first is by deleting these outliers. Second is by transforming and binning the outliers. For example, this is the original variable which has this outlier present. So what we can do is we can transform this variable using the log transformation and convert it into this. So now we can see that although the 12th value is still very large, but it is not as large compared to other values as it was when previously untransformed. So this is how transformation helps us in treating outliers. The next is we can impute outliers similar to missing values. So for example, we can convert this 12 into a missing value, that is NA, and impute this using regular imputation methods for missing values. Last is when we can treat them separately. So for example, if you are to perform any operation on this variable, we can perform a single operation on these variable from 1 to 11 and another operation on 12 alone. So when we group them differently and use different methods, this can be used to treat outliers. So this was all about outlier treatment method. In the next video, we'll see how we can implement these methods in Jupyter Notebook using pandas. Thank you.